Join us as we dive into our obsession with true crime, history, and mysterious stories. Each Corrupted Clip episode is less than 30 minutes long, providing you with the perfect bite-sized content to get you through the day.
We assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this episode. The Corrupt Podcast is based on the facts and our opinions of the case. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Corrupt Podcast.
Faithe Ely's body was found along a rural Oklahoma highway in a suspected hit and run on March 28, 2021.
She left behind a family, including a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. For years, her family has fought for answers in a homicide investigation that is not what it initially seemed. During our interview with Faithe's family, Amanda Langston, Faithe's mother, said,
"Know who your neighbors are, because they might be murderers." We are joined today with Amanda, Faithe's mother, and Kaitlynn, Faithe's younger sister. Can you please tell us more about who Faithe was?
I call her a beautiful mess. She had her own reasonings why she would do things. And that started from when she was very young, to putting on her shoes on the wrong feet. And then when she was told, "You've got them on the wrong feet," she really would just sit there. She'd look at them, think about it for a minute, look back at you, and she would say, "Well, not if I'm going that way." That was kind of set the tone for everything else she did from there on out. Faithe was funny. She liked having a good time. She liked to argue. Loved to talk. Faithe was what I call a speed talker. And it was always hilarious for me to watch her and talk to someone else who was not accustomed to her rate of speed. And the look on their face, they were lost and blown away at the same time because they have no idea what she just said. And it used to crack me up because I understood everything she said, but kind of was always around her. So I knew. I mean, we kind of became experts at speed listening. And she would cram 10 topics at once into one conversation. And I mean, she's rolling through them. And if she took a breath it's for you to reply, then she might acknowledge that she heard you. She might not. And she's rolling right on through to the next thing. I mean, she was just like that. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I think sometimes maybe she talked that fast. She wanted to get everything out before somebody told her to stop talking. And she talked so much like I don't know when she ate. I don't know if she chewed her food because she was still talking. And she had an opinion about everything. She had an opinion, but she loved art. A lot of times I could find her drawing or writing and writing and writing and writing, listening to music, always listening to music, makeup, doing her hair. That was the thing. Clothes. She had kids. They left the house. They looked like a unit. They looked like they were put together, looking good and clean and snazzy. But if you ever walked into where she lived, it looked like a tornado ripped through there. And she did not care. I don't know how she found anything, but somehow she did. She knew exactly where she threw that makeup brush, or that shoe's over there and that shoe's over. She knew. She was the type, she loved clothes so much, it didn't matter the season. I like to think of her. She was always that person to me who would wear a sundress in an ice storm if it looked cute.
I'm with her there. I do the same thing.
Yeah, she would wear a sundress in an ice storm. That was her thing. Pretty hurts, as she would tell her sister. Shoes, big old heels, and she wasn't but 5'5", but big old tall heels. Like, how are you wearing those? Because she was clumsy. I mean, she would trip over herself all the time, but she was wearing those. She's like, well, pretty hurts. It's pretty. I like it. I like it. She liked what she liked, and it didn't matter about anything else or what anybody else thought. She did have low self-esteem. She struggled with that. And it didn't matter how much I could tell her she was not who she thought she was. I could tell her all day long. But I'm mom. So it was expected that, well, you of course you think that. You're my mom.
Yep. Moms don't count sometimes.
Moms don't count most of the time, especially when they become teenagers.
I know.
Like, you are irrelevant altogether. She had compassion for other people. If someone was new to the school, and she was an observer, and if no one would take the time to try to get to know the new person, she would. If somebody had like a physical disability or a mental disability and that somebody was messing with them, she had no problem with standing up about it. She was a scrapper. She was a fighter. Like, she and party have a good time, but it wouldn't take much of anything. Somebody just step a toe out in the wrong place and she's swinging. She just was that person. She struggled with her addiction. She had a really hard time after Stephen died. It set her back on her rehab. It did a lot. And that was a lot too for a recovering addict to try to, who always did this stuff to fit in and to get away from pain.
That's tough.
Trying to come back and deal with the loss. And this was a significant loss for her. We already knew it was going to set her all the way back.
Making me cry. I feel that. We feel your pain.
I sincerely hope you never actually do.
Well, I had lost my brother, so I'm relating it to that. So it's kind of, I understand it.
It's a different level of its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's before losing someone. You think you can imagine it. It could make your chest tight. It could water your eyes just to imagine. But once it happens, there's no preparing. There's no way to prepare. It hits in levels you didn't know existed before.
It comes and goes, and it's always there.
But also in ways you didn't know existed.
Exactly.
I would love to go back to that ignorance of it. I would do anything to not know. It's not a club anybody willingly joins because the fee is too high. And you most certainly, when someone says, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, that nothing is truer. No matter what was the cause of losing your child, you will never experience anything that will affect you so dramatically. It changes your life in an instant. My son dying 9 months before was a blow that knocked us so far back that by the time Faith had passed, we hadn't even had time to really wrap our heads around the fact that he was gone. To really, I guess, go through the process of grieving, and then Faith's gone. And to learn how and why and who.
And have to fight for justice on top of it all.
You will never know the torture and the pain you go through to not only have lost your child, to lose your child to homicide, and then to be re-victimized by law enforcement. It's a constant pouring of salt on the wound. I don't really know how else I could articulate it. And then to reach out to try to get someone in leadership, someone in authority, someone in the Capitol, somebody, anybody, help us fix this. What in the world is actually going on here? And to be dismissed, to be so irrelevant, you can't even respond to an email. You can't even respond to a call back. And then your only concern is trying to find out who's talking bad about your agency. I think we lost perspective here. Who is running this show? There's so much, and we just It would take an entire day to sit here and walk anybody through it from beginning to end. But I will say that Kaitlynn and I have been on that front line from the beginning, and we have really been the ones who built this case from scratch. It's been us, and we're not law enforcement. We're not investigators, never been in the field, and we've had to be the ones to do it. All the way up to getting a confession. And we still can't get anybody to pay attention.
Can you kind of walk us through the events of March 28th, 2021?
Faith had called me, and she did regularly. She wanted to know if I would bring her down some of her clothes, and if I would bring her. I had made a memorial book of Stephen, and she asked me to hold on to that for her, and we had gotten her a pendant with his ashes. It's a pendant we all have. We all have a pendant. We carry him with us. And she asked me if I would bring that to her as well. And she told me where. Mom, can you meet me at like 3:30 at the Brahms in Seminole? There's only one Brahms, so I knew exactly where she was talking about. I said, okay, yeah, I could do that when I get off work. A little bit later on in the day, she said, well, Mom, I might be a little bit late. It might be a little bit closer to 4, but I'll get there as fast as I can. I said, okay, well, I was running a little bit late myself. So I'm like, okay, that works out. I get there and I pull up in the parking lot, and I'm sitting there in my car, and I'm facing the building. And I saw Faith come in, and Veronica was driving, and I recognized the truck. I'd only seen it a couple of times before, but I knew who it was, or so I thought I knew who it was. I thought it was just her friend. Come into the parking lot, and she pulls into the parking space next to me. Faith gets out, I get out, and I come around, and I'm standing there with Faith between the two vehicles. Okay, Veronica gets out, and she goes into the Bronx. So I'm helping Faith get her total clothes out of my trunk, put it in the back of the truck. We're doing a little chit-chat. Talked about my car. I hadn't had it but just a couple of weeks. She's telling me about her job. She'd just gotten a job. She was waitressing and hosting, and she was starting to make a little bit of money. So we were making plans for her to save up money, and in a couple of weeks, we'd go pay down on a car. I'd help her get a car so she'd be mobile. So the ultimate goal was for her to get guardianship back of her kid. I had guardianship of her son, and I kept pushing her to meet those goals set by the court so she can get him back. Like, come on,
sure,
you can do this. So I'm like, you've met 2 of the 3. Keep going. You've got a job. Once you get a car, you've got 2 of the 3. You got 1 more step to go. Let's go. You can do this. You've got this. We talked a little bit. Veronica comes back out of the Brahms, gets into the truck. This entire time, she has not acknowledged me at all, which is fine. I don't really care. I didn't really acknowledge Faith's friends on the rare occasions I was around them. And Faith really didn't want them around me anyway. I was that mom. So I noticed her demeanor changed, like instantly. At the time, I noticed that I wasn't really sure what was going on. I knew something was up. Because she was one way 1 minute, and then as soon as Veronica came back out and got back in the truck, she shifted. And I noticed that while we're still standing there, we're kind of chatting back and forth, and she keeps glancing over to the cab of the truck. And then she said, Mom, let's move over here. So we went to the other side of my car to finish talking. Again, I don't know what's going on. Something's up. But I figure she'll tell me later because she usually would. Still don't know. We said our goodbyes. Mom, I'll call you later. I left there. I went and saw Kaitlynn and my son-in-law. After that, I went and saw my mother. And then I was living in Oklahoma City. I went home. I wasn't home maybe 30 minutes. And my phone rings. And it was the same number Faith had been calling me from for the last couple of weeks because her phone was broken. Something about the charging port or something. Something about charging. I don't really remember. But it was the same number. So I thought it was Faith, so maybe she's going to tell me what's going on. When I answered the phone, I've got this woman screaming in my ear. Faith's dead. Faith's dead. She's been hit by a car. She's dead. What are you talking about? I don't know what happened. She was hit by a car. It's like, well, did anybody call an ambulance? Is an ambulance there? Police there? Where's she at? Where's she going? I don't know. Well, I don't want to talk to you anyway. Is there a cop there? Let me talk to a police officer. And I could hear her walking. Okay. And I talked to one officer and I said, I told him my name. My name is Amanda Langston. I'm Faith's mother. What is going on? Where is my daughter? Well, ma'am, I don't know right now. Well, where is the paramedics there? Yeah, they're with her. Okay, well, what hospital is she going to? Somebody tell me something here. You got to give me something. I don't even know where she's at. He hands me over to the sheriff. He says, the sheriff's here. I'm going to let you talk to him. So I'm talking to the sheriff. My name is Amanda Langston. Faith is my daughter. What is going on? Where's my daughter? What hospital is she going to? Where do I need to be? What's going on? Well, I don't know. I just got here myself, so I don't really know what's going on. Okay. Can you call me back and let me know something? Like, where's my daughter? Where's she going? Where do I need to go? And he took my number and said he would call me back. Well, I'm not waiting for them. So I called Kaitlynn. And I didn't get a hold of Kaitlynn. And then I called my son-in-law. And I told him, I said, this is what has happened. This is the call I got. This is who I talked to. I don't know where she's at. Nobody's telling me anything. I don't know what hospital. I don't know. How do I even find out when nobody's telling me anything? You know, and my son-in-law said, hold on. I'll see what I can find out and I'll call you back. And that's when Kaitlynn called me back trying to tell me, well, we think we found out where the accident was. We're headed that way right now. As soon as we find out, we'll give you a call. And this is where Kaitlynn would have to take over.
So for context, where this location is 30 miles from where I'm at. So that'd be 70 miles from my mom, Amanda. So 30 miles from there, we haul tail down there. And I remember there was just a line of cars on this 2-lane highway. And before my husband puts it in park, I'm already hopped out and I'm just taking off. And I run up on scene, and then I get about 10 feet from my sister, and then I just stop because I just know that it's her. And whether, it was her or somebody telling me, you don't need to go any further. But she was surrounded by a bunch of officers or medical professionals. And then I remember a gentleman coming up to me, kind of usher me back, trying to figure out who I was, why I was there. And I'm just asking him, is that my sister? Is that Faithe Ely? Is that my sister? I have to know. I can't not know. I need to know. So he tells me at that point that they have not identified this person who is deceased. But if I could describe any part of her to him, and I'm like, well, she looks just like me. She's shorter. She's got darker hair. She's got tattoos, and I'm just fumbling because I'm in shambles, right? So he's like, well, do you have a picture of her? And I'm just trying to get on my phone, and I'm trying to unlock it and find any picture that I can of her. And in the meantime, he leaves where I'm at, and this woman comes up to me out of nowhere, just in hysterics and hugging me, telling me she's so sorry, and she hopes that she did not kill herself and that she didn't just walk in front of a vehicle. She loves her. She was a friend to her. I don't know who this woman is whatsoever. And at the time, Faith and I didn't have the closest relationship just because of different avenues in life that we each chose. So I didn't know who she was corresponding with at the time. And she's just telling me that she loves her. She's a friend, and I'm just asking her, like, is that my sister? You know that is my sister. That is Faith. And I'm trying to get that reassurance or somebody to tell me no, it's not. We've got this all wrong. So I ended up, on the floor of the highway, just in such high emotion. I'm trying to call my mother. My husband is behind me, and I had two gentlemen come up to me and advised me to not talk to the other party that's involved because there's something hinky going on here. So it's kind of noted. I'm just trying to verify whether that's her or not. And he says, we do believe that this is Faithe Ely. So I told him okay, and I'm crying. I have a mom on the phone, and I'm just kind of standing around waiting. For what? I don't know. I'm just standing there. This woman comes back up to me to give me her phone number. She's like, I want you to have my phone number. I'm Veronica. I'm Ryan's mom. And then it clicked who she was with. And I do know the history there, seen the history there. So I'm telling her, like, okay. So my husband gets her phone number. And then I was approached again by a couple of officers telling me that, it'd be best probably to go sit in my car and wait for them to come down and talk with us. And it was that night went so quickly, but so long in the interim that before I knew it, it was, 5 a.m. before we were leaving as she was being loaded into the medical examiner's van before I left to go to my mother's house to reel what was going on.
So the officer that said, don't talk to the other party, he was referring to Veronica?
Correct. Veronica and Ryan.
So right away, he knew that something wasn't quite kosher there.
Right. And he was an OHP officer.
Interesting. Because then after that, it gets, I'm going to say fumbled, really. Like
Right.
The whole situation just gets fumbled.
Yeah. It's a domino effect. One bad move turned into very, very much several bad moves on the law enforcement side. Because as my mother referenced it too, it's just like, and it could be in a lot of other states too, but Oklahoma is so full of drugs and addicts that you don't have any help. You get very, very, you don't have any resources to try to get help if you want to get help. And it's unfortunate that so many people OD in this state, but it's like if you don't have a position of power, you don't have money, or you don't have a status or connections, you're a nobody. That's very much how it feels. That it's just like, okay, well, you took care of yourself. We don't have to we're not going to waste the resources that we do have to make sure that you get justice. We're just going to chalk it up to the easiest thing we can.
Absolutely disgusting, that is.
Yeah.
And Kaitlynn, if I may ask, what kind of toll did this take on you, losing your brother and then not so long right after your sister Faithe?
That's a great question. So Stephen was our first loss, our first really close loss. So that was detrimental. But I'm very much built like my mother. You have to keep going. Stephen was the oldest one of us all, and he's referred to as a good soul, and he was. So it was very reeling to know that he died in a car accident, one that only God knows what happened during that time. And crazy story there is I was actually at a bank that morning that he had passed away, and I heard an officer in another lane talking to, he frequents there, or it's his wife who works there, and he had said that he had just got done reporting it at an incident with a fatality. And then not 10 minutes later, I get that phone call.
Wow.
That, my brother had passed away in a car accident. I'm very strong-minded, very independent. I am my mother's daughter. And I had to be the backbone for her, because as a mom with 4 kids who have been your life all of their lives, I just couldn't imagine. So I had to be that backbone for her. As well as for my siblings, Faith, who is currently in rehab, and then our little brother, Taylor, and that was his only brother. So he kind of spiraled after that. So trying to pick up all the pieces for everybody, I just closed in and went on. And then when Faith passed away, I immediately knew I had to take on her son, and he was 3 at the time. Because I had made a promise to her when she gave birth that's if anything were to happen, I would take care of her. I would make sure her kids were taken care of. So that was my primary goal, was to get him, to make sure that nothing happened to him. I had to fulfill that promise, and I have to this day. He is a little Faith, through and through, a little Faith. But you just have to, I don't know, I think I've had a lot of crying days, but I've suppressed those because I can't. I want the best for him. He doesn't understand what's happened, where his mommy Faith went. All he knows is she went, she was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and Jesus came and he took her home. Because what do you tell a little boy when his mommy ain't coming back? And that's tough, because then at 3:00 in the morning, when we have nightmares and we're crying and upset, all he wants is mommy Faith, and I can't be that for him. So I can't soothe him as his mommy Faith could have. But you just learn to navigate these roads. And I didn't have any children. I call them inherited kids, even though it took something so great for me to even have a child. But we just pushed through for our kids and just keep fighting so that maybe one day, me and his dad, Casey, my husband, are able to tell him that justice was served. That somebody who chose to take her life from us is paying a consequence.
Absolutely.
So,
can I just say the amount of strength that both of you have is inspiring.
Absolutely.
And you're doing so much
thank you.
that I know, like in my heart, that Faith is so happy. She feels it. I can just feel it right now.
We just pray and hope so, because me and her we've had some conversations about her son. She was a debater, always had to have the last word. We were two opposite ends. I was the goody two-shoe girl. I didn't get into makeup or boys or fancy clothes. I just wanted to, our mom was our hero, but I made sure I was always on mom's side, and she didn't mess around. So, and Faith was, I'm going to have the last word. I'm going to sneak out. I'm going to go and sneak me a bowl of ice cream in the middle of the night, or I'm going to turn up the TV and drown everybody out. And her son is the exact same way. Me and my husband fight with him all the time about turning down the TV. You're not deaf, or having the last word. He's a debater and a speed talker. So I get her in ways with him every day. And I tell her about it sometimes. Like, girl, you're testing me, because she does. And through him. But he's a blessing. He's a blessing, and just we're so thankful that we have a part of her.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And I am sorry about your brother.
Oh, thank you.
I do. It's a tough thing to go through.
It is.
There are 2 Facebook groups, #IMattered and Justice for Faith. Are those the best ways to find updates on the case and report information?
We have not done a lot of releasing of information, reaching out to podcasts and getting the story about what happened to Faith out there has been a decision I've had lots of talks about. And we've just decided, we've come to the point that we need to get her voice out there in order to actually, for her to be heard. We can't stay silent anymore. We tried to, for the last 4 years and 3 months, we've tried to keep what we know to ourselves, to try to keep the integrity of the case intact as best as we could. We have tried to put out the dumpster fire it turned into. We have tried to collect information and evidence and talk to people and try to reconstruct what happened. And after getting no help, no responses, it was time for us to start speaking out about what happened and to ask people to help us to get to the actual truth, help us to find justice for Faithe. And if somebody knows something, please do not be afraid to come forward. Do not let fear control your actions. Don't let fear be the one that tells you how you should live your life. And one partnership at a time, we can start bringing more focus into what's going wrong with our own judicial system. It's not one group of people or a couple of groups of people. This is a systemic problem that affects more people than you think. And there needs to be some light shined on that. People are people. We've all made mistakes. We've all made choices that we were fortunate enough to live through and to change our minds and to be able to look back and say, I learned from my mistakes. Not everybody gets to live through that. And to be judged, to judge a person who is dead on the side of the highway for choices that they made and decide you are the judge, jury, and executioner, and it's up to you to decide whether they're worth it or not. You set the value on someone else's life is a widespread problem. And it's going to take everyday people who have been through it, people who have lost someone, people who have become another victim of law enforcement to come together and demand change.
Have there been any updates to the case recently?
No. We are still pushing, asking questions, sending emails. They're just not moving. So now we have to start getting more voices, get her voice out there to hear more voices. Since Faithe's passing, I have heard from other moms who have not only lost their child to homicide, but also tell me what they went through trying to deal with law enforcement, how law enforcement treated them when they're already suffering. That's a problem. And I don't understand why no one's listening.
Huge problem.
Why is no one listening? Why are these people who we elect into office who say they're here for the citizens of your state to serve the citizens of their state are not serving? They're not listening. They don't hear you because they've decided how much you're worth as well. That's not okay.
Definitely not.
You don't get to decide that.
What information do you wish more people knew about Faithe's case?
The suspicions and our opinions on what happened is not solely based on what we knew about the relationship beforehand. It's not solely based on us already having known about the domestic violence. That's not the only reason. It's not simply because law enforcement, the second one that took over, has said, well, that we think this happened. And it's not just because of what people who knew them have come forward and told us. A lot of this has to do with what they themselves had said. They have had conversations with law enforcement.
They being Ryan and Ronica?
Yes, as well
and the people at the house.
Ronica's ex-husband who was there too. They've been interviewed. They've talked to law enforcement more than once. Ryan has only talked to them once. He's talked to them that night and one other time. Veronica's talked to them several times. And the stuff that she has said, the stuff that Ryan has said, has also led us to believe that the focus of the investigation should be more on them. This is not stuff that we've just dreamt up. It's not because we're grieving, which is so dismissive. Grieving isn't just one thing. It's not because of the history we know about, and it's not because some people who knew them are greedy and want the reward money. The reason the attention is back on them and questioning and wondering about them is because of them. That's why they're being looked at. That's what I would like for people to know more than anything. She was a person, And there's a lot more in this investigation and a lot more reason why opinions have been formed that are not popular. They haven't been pulled out of thin air.
I agree with you. But she's a mom. She was a mom more than anything. And her children deserve to know the truth.
And to know that somebody is paying the price. They're being held accountable. You don't get to just do that to their mom. Kids, and not just Faith. Lots of kids are growing up without their mom or their dad. And it hasn't been any justice. Kids need to know that there can be and there should be. It's not okay to do that.
Exactly.
Agreed. So I can't thank you both enough for joining us today. This brought so much needed information for Faith. If you have information on Faith's murder, you can contact Trooper Tim Baker or Lieutenant Dustin Thornton at the Oklahoma Highway Patrol at 918-627-0440. Additionally, you can contact the Oklahoma Highway Patrol at 405-425-2323.
You can also report an anonymous tip to Amanda Langston and Kaitlynn Alderman on Facebook Messenger.
We would love for you to become part of the Corrupt crew. You can find us on Patreon with multiple tiers and PayPal. This will score you our appreciation and will announce your name in a future episode. Both links are in the episode notes. Case suggestions and feedback can be emailed to us at corruptpod@gmail.com.
The sources for this episode would be listed in the episode notes. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Don't forget to subscribe to catch our new Corrupt content. Please also leave us a review wherever you're listening to this episode. Bye!
Bye!